Hey, it's Peggy at Headshots by Peggy, and you are going to love today's vlog. I've got the Casting About guys joining me. They're going to talk about some new features of Casting About and probably a bunch of other really cool stuff.
It's good to be here.
Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know, like, between auditions and soccer practice and everything, you guys are, that's not happening, is it?
I had to
No,
juggle.
it's not. It is none of those things.
Yeah.
And
I had to
yet
juggle.
somehow
Either I'd be sitting here, or I'd be sitting over there, maybe on the other side of that door over there, you know, but I was able to work it in. So I appreciate your flexibility there.
So we were chatting a little bit before we officially started rolling, and Brian was saying, let's talk about what we've discovered and what our thoughts are as far as what's going to happen in the industry going forward. And I want to make sure this is said, because when we first came on, Blair mentioned that, you know, one of the things is we have to understand, we have to give ourselves permission to not know. And just be okay with that, because really we're all guessing right now.
Yeah, and that's, you know, especially if you're a kind of a control freak person, or if you're the kind of person who has a...
Again, why are you talking about me like that?
Yeah,
right here.
You know, this is our therapy call, and it's a kind of an intervention. But no, I mean, you know, sometimes some people are really comfortable in that sort of unknown space. Others aren't. And if you're the kind of person who isn't comfortable in that unknown space, there's already a stress level just surrounding all the what ifs. And I think, you know, it's okay to say, well, look, okay, I don't know what's going to happen next. You know, I'm as control freaky as they get, and I don't know what's going to happen next, and I don't have any magic answers, and I'm not sure that anybody else has any magic answers either. We're all going to kind of work our way through this together, and I think it's okay to just trust that it'll happen in a way that you can figure out, in a way that's going to work. I don't think it's healthy to add the extra stress about the stuff that you just can't figure out. None of us can figure that out. Let's look at the things that we can guess at, and talk about maybe some things we can do. But even some days you don't have the energy for that. And if your motivation for a day is, I just want to get up and make my way to the couch and lay down for a while, right now at this time, I think that's okay.
I've been doing my own research to find out what people are talking about. And anytime there's a headline about industry guidelines, or, you know, somebody coming up with some plan, I've been watching. And then the research team at CastingAbout is obviously, you know, we're sharing those articles every day, all day, and we're all kind of looking. And I'm actually taking some comfort in how many of those are like, well, we really don't know, but maybe we could move forward using these guidelines, maybe, but this is a working document that could change. And then some other production company will release something that says, maybe we're thinking about possibly trying this approach, maybe, depending on, you know, future guidelines from CDC and whatever happens in the next several weeks. And so I take comfort in that. I think all of us, from, you know, me sitting here in my room all the way up to the heads of studios, are kind of like, well, we don't really know. Let's talk about how we could maybe move forward, you know, which takes some of the pressure off for me. I'm like, okay, nobody really knows right now. And there's a big conversation going on, and you could stay informed and try and figure out kind of what that conversation is, but I don't think you need to worry about, you know, having all the answers right now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But if there's things you want to do, I mean, if you are feeling like, I want to try to come up with something, we know that some casting directors are doing things. We know that some casting directors aren't. And for those casting directors, well, at least not visibly doing anything. They might be thinking about it. They might be making their plans, but there are some casting directors that are being more active on social media, that are having a presence, that are sort of out there and more approachable in some ways. And so I think talking about what casting directors are doing from a social media standpoint, I think that's a useful thing that we can talk about right now. And, you know, ways that you may be able to use that to your advantage during this time. And then, you know, I think we kind of are starting to talk about what happens down the road. What, you know, how do we get back to normal, whatever normal might look like, and what even do we think normal might actually be?
Yeah.
So Blair, go ahead.
Well, Peggy, you started to say something earlier. I didn't want to jump in
Well,
there.
Merrick and I have been, trying to keep up watching and listening to things. And one of the things we're hearing that may be a possibility is, at least with first round auditions, doing Zoom auditions, not even so much self-tapes, but actually, Zoom. Are you hearing that whisper as well? What are you hearing?
We are, and that, Breakdown Services as a whole has been talking to casting directors, and CastingAbout in our division, we've been talking to casting directors. And yeah, I think it's, again, nobody knows for sure, but I think it's safe to say that, for first round auditions, self-tapes were already popular. Well, now they're going to be the thing. I think that's just done. So a lot of self-tapes for first round. And then second round, for callbacks, yeah, a lot of casting directors are talking about a virtual audition, and actually the Breakdown Services is working with casting in this space to provide an alternative to that in the room, whatever that's going to be. And I think getting used to that is going to be a thing. Now, I've been thinking from an actor, my point of view, what does that mean? And well, if I've got a self-tape studio at home and I can work myself and set it up, then using that same facility to talk to a casting director, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, there's going to be technical stuff, and we've got to deal with the reader and how that works and everything. But, the chance to talk one-on-one with somebody, but from my own house, I think, it saves driving and sitting in the waiting room, which for me is the worst part. I hate that part. So maybe that's going to be okay. But I think we're all going to have to get used to this kind of conversation. And that's okay. I mean, we're performers. We're sort of used to that, I think. And actually, I think it's great, because if I sit here and I look at you, that's terrific, because I'm not staring at the camera, which I'm not supposed to do anyway. I can actually just talk to you, and eye lines kind of take care of themselves. And so I think it could be interesting. I'm sort of looking forward to that first one. I haven't gotten one yet, but I do think that's what we're going to have to get used to
Right.
for quite a while.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, and maybe quite a while, maybe always, because I feel like once they get the system moving and people get used to it, then who wants to drive? I mean, once we get over the oh crap, this is different, I don't like it, and once we figure it out and get all the kinks worked out, I mean, because there are times, especially if the audition's in Santa Monica or something, I mean, forget about dinner, because
Yeah.
Well, but I think, it's also, it's going to change a little bit. Some actors have been doing self-tapes, and so you're sort of used to being in your living room in this comfortable space and turning on that kind of performance mode. But if you haven't been doing that, if you're not comfortable with that, you're gonna have to figure out how you can do that while you're standing in your garage or your kitchen, or, right in the middle of the hallway or whatever. And so, because this performance, we're just chatting with each other, the stakes are medium. But if there's work on the line, if this is an actual audition, then, there's a lot more things that add stress level and add things and so on. And like Blair said, knowing where your eye lines are, knowing whether you're, if the casting director, I don't know why, but if the casting director is going to be able to need to see more of you. I'm in a chair at a desk. I can't stand up and have, I can't back up. There's a wall behind me.
right.
And so there's some logistical things that, you kind of are going to need to think through so that you're prepared to be able to handle what the casting director might throw at you. And we don't know what those things are, and I don't know that casting directors know what those things are. I know that SAG contracts regulate how much time you have to wait in waiting rooms and those kinds of things, and I don't know how those are going to apply to a virtual environment. And so there's a question mark about how all that stuff is going to work. We all know Zoom, we all know Google Hangouts, there's Facebook Messenger, there's, Skype and Google Meet. I think ultimately people are going to dabble in all of those things, but I think ultimately, I know some of the stuff that Breakdown is working on, I think that's going to provide a better solution once they get there.
Yeah.
Where they can manage some of the logistics surrounding all of this stuff instead of just having to deal with a product that was intended for family reunions and company meetings.
Right.
So,
Well, and the whole thing, of course, means, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, is, upgrading the home studio. And I think well, there's plenty of stuff that actors can be doing right now. And yes, there are days that I will sit on the couch. Well, that's not true. I got kids. I never just sit on the couch. I will wish I could sit on the couch while I'm making my kids lunch. So I don't think, it's not like you have to do these things or you fall behind, but as an actor, there's stuff I can do to market myself right now. There's stuff I can do to prepare my home studio right now. And I know, Peggy, you've got great advice there. And I'm going to pick your brain a little bit later about some of the lights that I need to upgrade to. And I could just sort of take the time to get all my ducks in a row.
So home studio stuff, I think, is going to become more and more of a thing. And, those of you who are sitting in your 1-bedroom studio, whatever, that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be something that I don't have the answer for you there.
However, I envy all of you who don't have cats and kids walking through the middle and have to do, because a lot of times I've work all day and I'll do a self-tape at night after the kids are in bed, and now it's dark and I got to quiet, and it's just, so things, grass is always greener, things get complicated.
One thing worth thinking about, voice actors have been dealing with this for a while because the voice acting community has moved their way into home offices and home studios. I have a number of friends who have converted a closet somewhere into a padded thing that they can go in and record in. And so, there are resources out there primarily that are already written, that are primarily for the voice acting community, but that talk about what kind of microphone you want to have, what sort of audio level settings you want to have, some of those kinds of things. So potentially at least getting the audio and the setup situation from that, then you're just going to have to worry about camera and lighting.
Exactly. And people need to understand that audio is every bit as important as camera and lighting, because a human will sit through a bad picture longer than they will sit through bad audio. Like if it's bad audio, they'll just turn it off and move on. And so that's a big challenge for a lot of people. I think I was sharing earlier, I've been learning audio. I've just always been faking it because I'm a still photographer. But now with doing self-tapes for people and, all this, I just kind of faked it. But now that this is going to become a new reality, a new, moving forward, even if it's just for Merrick and Sam, I need to know. And, Merrick was getting a lot of voiceover auditions, so we upgraded our stuff, and I've been learning about, like I have a lav mic on now. See how fancy I am?
So and that's one way to do it, and it's a good way to do it. I will bring the snowball into the equation. Not expensive and not a bad way to go, and that.
And it's multi-directional, that is, so you don't have to make sure you're, like, if you turn your head, you don't lose audio. So that's a nice
Yeah,
mic as well.
And so that's been my setup for that. But at the same time, how much echo is in the room and things like that. Blair, I don't know if you want to talk about your audio setup at all, but I know Blair's been doing some voiceover stuff and has been able to achieve really clean audio without a lot of echo, without a lot of background noise, things like that. It is possible to do in one's bedroom.
Yeah, the closet's been phenomenal. I was using the snowball, but actually I had to do a quick thing and ended up using these. And I was in my closet, which has clothes on both sides going down. So in the closet with the door shut, there's it's carpeted and there's clothes everywhere. So sound is just absorbed, no echo at all, and super clean and quiet. It was really nice just sitting in there. I mean, it is possible. Yep. It's funny. These are things we're going to have to think about with virtual auditions and with self-tapes. It's going to be worth investing. It's not tons, but worth investing a little bit as you in equipment. A decent USB mic that you can clip to your phone, is going to make a significant difference. And if you're sending a tape in to casting directors and they're trying to watch 10 seconds of a tape and yours is super clean and other people are, tinny and echoey, then great. I think it's going to be worth it. It's hard to ask actors to spend more money.
But you can get a nice little mic for $20 on Amazon. You don't have to, unless you're doing actual voiceover. I know when this whole thing started, Merrick's agent sent out an email and said, what's your home studio look like? What equipment do you have? And like, so we had to go through and give her an itemized list of what we had, because there's certain things that, you know, you're going to be responsible for recording, you know, at home, and they want to know what you have, what your resources are. And so in the beginning that helped a little bit, because I think Merrick was able to audition for a few more things, just because, you know, this is what I do for a living, so that spilled over to, you know. But yeah, I think just even in auditions, people are going to have to spend that extra $20, and you know, for under $100, you can get a nice setup for your home studio for auditions.
And if you're in a position where you can afford to do that, and if you can find those things and get them ordered, great. It's not a requirement. It's not necessary. Good acting is good acting, even on bad video. You know, casting directors will certainly understand that we are all in a transition here. So, you know, our goal here is not to give you more stress.
Right.
Don't worry. Whatever you have is whatever you have. Work with it and be as good as you can with it. But if you have the opportunity to go upgrade your sound and upgrade your lighting, and at least consider some of the logistics of how might I audition if the casting director needs to see more of me than just this, you know, this tight shot. Do I have space for that? I heard somebody talking about how you might do an initial interview in one location and then do a callback in a different location. That might be necessary. You may want to think about those kinds of things. And you know, what if they ask to see some other different thing? How are people going to react to the Zoom background? You know, that virtual background. I kind of hate them. I find them really frustrating.
Because of
the way it pixelates around people's hair, that kind of stuff. But, you know, so I would initially say don't, but I don't know how people are going to react to that, you know, but I don't, you know, do people need to buy a green screen? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But those are questions that I don't think we have answers for yet.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Casting About, because you guys have released some really cool updates.
Woohoo!
Well, yeah, we're excited.
Very excited about this. I mean, we talked about this at the kind of beginning of everything. It's, you know, what's going to go on in the industry and what's going to happen, and we're trying to figure it out like everybody else. And I think, you know, what we're realizing is that while we're all kind of figuring out how and when productions are going to get back up, and we're starting to see those wheels turn again. That actually came up in one of the meetings we're talking about it, and I thought it was something good to remember. I try and lean on this as an actor too, which is that production right now seems to be on hold, but I don't think an actor's career has to be on hold. You know, it's not like we just sit around and wait for everything to come up, because and we've talked about this in the other times we've talked, is that most of an actor's job, I think, is building relationships with people and doing your research and figuring out who the other storytellers are in town and how you can help serve them with the stories you tell. And that takes time. And quite frankly, I'd never have enough time to do that kind of stuff, you know, and there'll be times I'll get an audition and have to scramble, like, who is that person and what's their history and what kind of storyteller are they? Well, taking that time now to do the research and get caught up is I think, you know, invaluable. So that's great. And we've seen actors using CastingAbout for that. Like Brian mentioned earlier, social media stuff. People have been logging in and looking at casting directors, and because we list all the social media links for all the casting directors or associates and assistants if they have them. So looking up the social media of people on your target list is so important. Like you said, Merrick's doing, following all those Instagram lives and Q&A sessions and getting to know them better. You know, what a great opportunity to get to know them better as a person, so that when the audition comes down the line, whenever it is, you know a little bit more about them. Yeah. So we've been keeping in touch with casting and keeping media links updated and trying to talk to them about their projects and what's pending and what's been pushed to next season and all that stuff. And in the middle of it, I mean, it's something we've talked about for a long time.
Hang on, Blair.
Yeah.
Let me just put a pin on that for one thing. There's one thing that I like to talk to people about with social media, since we're talking about social media, and I feel like you're about to go off of that to another thing. sometimes people get really aggressive on social media. Sometimes people are like, I've just found a casting director and I'm following them on social media and I'm immediately going to hit them up for a thing. I'm going to ask for something. And I feel like that's a dangerous direction to go. So my advice on social media is start by listening. Start by looking at what the casting director has to say. Start by seeing where they're at in their life. Maybe you're connected to a casting director. Great, congratulations. Start by following them first. And don't see social media as your shortcut to, dear casting director, please bring me in for a thing, or please consider me for a thing. And I know some of you listening to this are like, of course I would never do that, but some of you might. And I think the thing to do with social media is to think of it on a broader level. This is your way to understand what the industry is doing, not your way to shortcut a direction to a casting director and immediately start DMing them every 5 seconds going, me, look at me, think about me, consider me.
Actors talking about themselves? No.
What? Yeah. So,
no.
Yes, you can use casting directors to find people's social media, and you should follow them, but consider that follow them, not pounce on them and try to be their best friend and try to suck the life out of them. It's the wrong way to come at this stuff.
Well, that's the wrong way to build a relationship anyway for anyone. But, just watching these, the Instagram lives and stuff and reading comments, I am shocked how many people are like, follow me back, look at this, do this, like demanding. It's like,
it's super rude. It's just super rude. And I know
Yeah.
you're not trying to be super rude, but that's what's happening.
Yeah, it comes off real clingy, and it's like, oh, I don't need that. So that's a good thing to think about. That's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Because there's like one person watching this. Everybody else is like, I wouldn't do that. There's that one person that needs to hear.
There's always somebody. And, and look, at 3 a.m. when you're in your pajamas, no, literally at 3 p.m. when you're in your pajamas, because that's
Right.
all we do now is sit around in our pajamas. You start thinking, God, I need a shortcut. I just need a shortcut. And maybe this looks like a shortcut. The business is hard and it's going to take work, but part of that work is learning the people that you need to have relationships with. And you start by listening. You absolutely start by listening. And then since we're doing it and since we're on this soapbox, one of the things that we also talk about is coming at this business from a place of service. So instead of me, can we turn these relationships around and have it be you? What are your needs? How can I help? What can I do to make your life better? What can I do to make your project better? I think that's a better way to go about life, but I also think it's a really good way to get into this industry too. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you're never going to get anywhere by saying, "Dear stranger, give me a job," which is what so many actors do.
Yeah.
And that's not marketing. That's just sort of being desperate and begging. So, doing the research to find out who these people are and what kind of roles they usually cast and what kind of actors they need to tell their stories and their philosophy about casting and acting and storytelling and, who they are as people is going to serve you so well in the long term. I mean, even if it's just, the more I get to know casting directors, the more I'm aware of their sensibilities and their tone and their style. So, I can craft my performance to, I mean, I still want it to be my story and it still needs to be real and authentic to me, but I can also get a better idea of what they need to tell their story and I can help serve that, which I think is so important.
It's an interesting point, Blair. Body language is such a big part of how we interact with each other in real life. And, you sort of, you mirror what other people are doing and you kind of follow whether they're keeping track of what you're doing based on, on those visual cues that you can see. It's a lot harder to do when there's a camera in between, and that's a skill that we're all going to have to get a lot better at. Is figuring out how do I make sure that I'm being an effective communicator, not just somebody who's worried about me and how do I look and what is my picture doing, but also like communication is a two-way street, and figuring out how to interact with people. And your point, Blair, I've heard you make this a couple times. I think it's kind of genius. Start by figuring out what are the needs of that casting director? What are their likes and dislikes? What are things that resonate with them? And then tailor your performance to that. It's it's a subtle thing that you can be doing right now that is, I think, a little bit of genius.
Yeah. Sorry, Peggy.
Well, I was just going to piggyback on that. I'm that Zoom member. I'm like, oh, let me piggyback on that. Well, because we are watching so many of these casting directors Instagram lives and a couple of workshops, what I've always said is, you know, when clients ask me, you know, what headshots, blah, 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 more effective, you're never going to please every casting director. They're humans, and they all have their own likes and their own dislikes. And being able to really get to know them by watching their Instagram lives and participating in their workshops, it's amazing. Yes, there's this broad blanket of most casting directors like ABC, but there was one casting director that we were listening to, and everything I had thought in my head forever, she just flipped up totally upside down. And I was like, and Merrick's like, well, I understand why I've never gotten an audition with her. Like, like everything was just, you know, she even like, yeah, I don't even like the slates on and Actors Access. We're like, who doesn't like the slates? It's like, what do you mean?
We have heard that.
All these people are humans, you know. They all have their own sensibilities, and they get hired for certain jobs. And there's been casting directors I've met, and of course, I always want the next job. And somewhere in the middle of the audition, I realized not only am I not getting this job, but this person we don't see the same thing here. We're at cross purposes, and it's just not going to happen. And you know, that's okay. They can go have their career, and I'll go have mine. And that's
exactly, and that's okay. You're not every casting director is going to think you're awesome. Not every casting director is going to call you in. Not every casting director is going to see your headshot and be blown away by it. But
sorry, Peggy, that's the opposite side of what we were just talking about. We were just talking about being, you know, learning what casting directors want and kind of tailoring your performance. But the other side of it is knowing who you are and being the authentic you, being the person that is you. You know, it's a lot of actors give away the creative power in that, I don't know what you want, so tell me what you want. I don't know what story you think I should tell. I don't know what headshots I should pick for myself. I don't know. Like, some of this stuff starts with, who are you? What's your brand? What's your story? What are the things that you do best? And embracing that and saying, this is what I'm good at. And I'm not going to try to convince people that I'm something else, because that's a hard way to go about doing things. Stay in your comfort level and be really good at the thing you're really good at.
I think it's like a relationship or anything else. When you're true to yourself, the right people, the right casting director is going to find you, the right part's going to find you, the right role, you know, it's going to be there. So it's just a matter of being confident enough in who you are and what story, how you tell your story and how you tell the story, to stay to that and let it all. And that's the one thing I've learned through all this. It's been fun for me to sit back and actually get to know, you know, hear different viewpoints of what casting directors like and don't like. It's you know, we really try to step back and think of what an opportunity this is, because I'm sure you guys are just like us, and you said, if I just had a month to get all my stuff done without anybody bothering me. Be careful what you wish for. But we try to kind of we're trying really hard to take advantage and do things that we normally wouldn't have time to do. And that's one of them, is just, you know, spending the time on CastingAbout, following these, you know, casting directors, getting to know them, you know, finding out all these things that normally you just don't have time to do. So this has been a really cool opportunity and kind of opened our eyes on several different things.
And we do have a new feature that we want to talk about. We're pretty
I was going to
excited
say
about it.
segues right back into it, I think, exactly, which is because the research, I think, is important, and because it's long-term research, and because you are looking for people that you can collaborate with, and you're looking for people to tell the same story as you. And so this is something we've wanted to do for a very long time, and finally out, which I'm really excited about, because I think it customizes all the information in a way a little bit. So just a week or so ago, we launched a new tagging system on CastingAbout, the ability to create custom tags for any person or any project. And so this is your ability, this is any actor's ability to find a person, create a tag that is anything you want to be, any sort of group or list or category that you can think of that you want to group somebody in. So, you know, whether you have your target list tag or your they booked me tag or my follow-up tag, my Christmas card tag, my they hate me tag, I don't know, whatever it is, you can create it and then put it on a person or project. And then that very quickly allows you to filter this big long list of hundreds and hundreds of people down into a group that you have specified. So, you know, I've got my follow-up tag now that I can just log in, go to the tag filter, do follow-up, and there's the people I need to further my career with and look for the next sort of point of contact with that person. I have my booked me tag. So because we update the listings kind of on a project basis, what's going on, it's so easy for me now to pull up that tag and say, all right, let me look at everyone who's ever booked me. And now what are they working on right now? You know, it's an instant way to say, here's every project, here's everything that all these people that know me and have used me before are working on. So maybe that's my, oh yeah, I should send them a congratulations card for that new project, or I should go watch that project that's on Netflix or something. So we're super excited about it. It's still brand new. But whether or not I, you know, have a tag on all the projects I've auditioned for. So here's everything I've auditioned. Now let me check up on them and see what's going forward with those, or who booked it instead of me. That's possible too.
We pre-populated all the existing accounts with 3 starter tags. It was just tags we thought people might want to look at, but you know, those are available for you. You can delete those and create new ones. You can leave them and create new ones. It's you know, it's a sort of a way for people to take this large list that we have, which is everybody doing everything, and then narrow it down to the ones that are most interesting to you, because everybody's career situation is different. So maybe you want to tag associates that are telling stories that you also tell, that where your story and their story match. And maybe you want to do associates instead of casting directors because where you're at in your career, it's a little easier to sort of connect with people at that level. Maybe that's a strategy you want to do. Maybe you want to, you know, anytime you go to an audition, maybe you want to create an audition tag, and anytime you go to an audition, you just drop that tag onto that casting director, anybody you meet in the room, so that you can keep a track of, you know, whoever you've been in with, or as Blair said, the booked me tag, which is great for you, Blair, because you book everything all the time. So that tag has a lot of names in it.
I wish.
But you know, we are really curious to see how people use tags and what ways they find to kind of take this large list that is constantly being updated by our researchers, and then narrow it down to just the list that they need for where they're at. We're super curious about that, and we hope that people will reach out to us and tell us, you know, I love this. I didn't do this. You can put as many tags as you want to on things. So, you know, you can have your auditioned tag and your hates me tag at the same time. Maybe one came first, I don't know. But you know, like the Christmas card list is a good idea. I think people I need to follow up with is a good idea. And we're really curious to see ways that people use them.
I hope some of the actors out there are as much of a research nerd junkie as I am, because I think the ability to create those groups for myself and then use it in conjunction with, we've got your own private date stamp notes on there too, so you can keep a running list of, you know, my contact history. So now bring up your follow-up list and then reach out or watch that Instagram live and then throw a note, watch their Instagram, loved where they said this. Because somewhere down the road, you know, if you get a chance to work with them and say, hey, you know, way back, I saw this Instagram thing where you said this amazing thing that really connected with me. That's part about building relationships. So we hope people like it. We're real excited to see the feedback.
Well, it's not by chance that you guys are on the vlog right now, because as soon as those updates hit, Merrick was so excited. He's like, you know, Peggy. I was like, you know, that's right. These guys are perfect. what a perfect time to talk to people that are this involved with the casting and, you know, how everything works. Plus, you know, share all the new features that's going on because, yeah, Merrick was quite excited about all of the new things that are happening. So I know you have at least one fan, and I'm sure many, many more.
One
Tom,
is really
thank you.
all we need. One is our
That's right.
benchmark. So we'll take it. It's
And
perfect.
please tell him we said thank you. And again, if there's any, you know, feedback or how he's using tags or how he wishes he could use tags or whatever, please let us know.
Well, he's quite nerdy, so I'm not sure if you really want his, no.
Sure. You know,
These
we have
are
a wish
people.
list of things that we want to work on. And, you know, as we mentioned earlier, Breakdown is actively engaged in getting into, you know, putting a product in place for this virtual audition kind of space. And so a lot of the programming team is off doing that. But as soon as we can get some of our programmers back again, we have other things we want to do. We have more things we want to do with tags that we think are kind of cool. That we want to be able to sort of, you know, this is the tip of the iceberg for that. There's other features that we think are going to be pretty great with that. That'll make it even better yet. We just needed to start with something small so we could get that out there and let you start getting some value and let you start building those lists in the way that you want to. And then we'll start, you know, building on that to tack on some additional features. So please let us know because, you know, if a lot of people say we really want this, we really want this, that goes up to the top of the list. That's how these things get put together. So
yeah.
So what else is going on?
Well, our staff is still working. We're excited that, you know, we have employees and they get paid and it's their livelihood. And so we're excited that they are still working, they're still doing things. You know, a lot of casting directors aren't holding actual auditions, you know, in person. And yet the information on CastingAbout continues to be of value to people. And our researchers are spending their time staying on top of what, you know, what the latest news are, what's happening and so on. I think as the industry starts to come back in, it will, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. We don't know exactly how it's going to go. I think there will be this push and pull, and you're hearing that in the news right now about just, you know, the pool parties in Wisconsin and social media, you know, social distancing and all of this stuff as the world starts to kind of go back to work. I think the entertainment industry is going to struggle with that as well. So there will likely be some, you know, attempts at things and a little bit of a reach out and then a pull back and a reach out and a pull back. But I have a feeling once the industry starts to get its act together on this and figures out what their steps are, I have a feeling that stuff is going to come back pretty quickly. And somebody will pilot something and then everybody else will follow with variations of that same something.
Well, I think we're almost to the end of Netflix, so we're going to need some new content pretty quick. And I know that the writers have had like 3 months to just dedicate their life to writing. So I'm anticipating some really exciting things coming forward. But set, you know, set life is, there's a lot of closeness. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of moving parts. So what's your best guess? You know, what's your best guess how this is going to be solved and how soon?
It's interesting seeing some of the plans that are coming out. Tyler Perry is probably at the forefront of this. He's getting started with 2 shows in Atlanta and has a very detailed, explicit plan for, you know, getting his cast there on, first of all, getting them, you know, checked out, make sure there's no symptoms, and then getting them on a private jet and down to his studio, which is a former military base. So there's lots of barracks and places to live. And he's talking about doing a smaller cast, a smaller crew. And basically it's summer camp. You know, everyone is tested out, make sure there's no symptoms, doing a COVID test, and then quarantining on set and not seeing anybody, you know, in the outside world for several weeks. And then cranking through these episodes of TV and not leaving, and then keeping everybody in separate sort of like pods, you know, like only certain people interact with other people and masks on for everywhere except for the actors who are during the take, and very detailed. And I think a lot of people are going to be watching that, you know, to see how it's going to go. It brings up a point to me, which is we started earlier, maybe this kind of wraps everything around full circle, is that we're all sort of watching to see, and all of us, the industry, all the actors, everybody involved is looking to see what's going to work and how this is going to go forward. And I think more than ever, actors should be at least aware of what everyone's talking about, to be a part of that conversation. Because we talk about coming from a place of service, and I always believe you should serve the story, and you deliver your story authentically, but in a way that helps the production tell the story. You know, that's the whole point of it. So, but it's going to be more than just serving the story. You know, it's going to be, what does production, what does casting need in this very strange time to start moving forward again? And how can you be a part of that conversation? So more than ever, knowing who casting directors are and what they're working on, and whether those productions are going to go forward, and how, and if the cast is pared down, you know, there may not be as many one-line co-star roles anymore, you know. So being as prepared as you can when you do have an opportunity to meet or read or submit for that casting director, I think it's going to be very important. And what can you offer in terms of, you know, home studio, or being available, or doing something online, or being able to travel, you know, just, I don't know what those answers are, but I know that the need is going to be higher than ever it is of adaptability, and how can you help here. And so I think just, you know, doing your research now, getting to know these people, and staying up on the articles, and reading and being a part of this emerging conversation is going to be so important. The actors, I think, in the past had this thing about, like, well, I'll submit and wait for someone to call me, you know, and just hope I get the audition. And I think we're all going to need to be more involved in that than we used to be.
For sure. And I think, you know, we talk a little bit, there's been a lot of conversations from people about, like, you know, when we get back to normal, everything's going to be fine. Like, somehow we're going to be, you know, we're in this, and then we're going to be out of this. I think we all, at this point, we all kind of realize that the new normal is not going to be all that normal. It'll be different in some significant ways. And acting is still acting, telling stories is still telling stories. The art is, you know, if you're going to be an artist, change is part of that, and uncertainty is part of that. And I think that's to be expected. But you know, like Blair said, staying on top of kind of how this is going to go, so that you can be as prepared as possible, because whatever the new normal is going to be is, I think, a little, you know, there will be changes, and being prepared to shift what you've done in the past to make it work with what is going to happen in the future. I think that's an important. It's not really a specific thing. Everybody is screaming at their TVs right now, going, you know, be specific, and we don't have that specific. But be ready for change. Sorry.
I think that in life in general, it's always been people that are willing to be flexible and change have a leg up. But now more than ever, I think that the people, I've always said, you know, just be kind. Like, that gets you a long ways. If you're just the person that's just a decent human being, and, you know, not selfish, that's going to get you a long ways. But I think now more than ever, because we're all in this same storm. We're all affected differently. We all have our own specific, you know, issues with this, but we're all affected. And the more willing we are to just, hey, how can I help? Or, yeah, I know I used to get this brought to me, but how about I go pick it up? Or, you know, just being flexible and willing to not be a jerk, I think those are the people that are going to survive and flourish in this immediately, because that's, you know, that's what we're all winging it. So, you know, just put a smile on your face and let's just get through this and see how we can.
And that whole thing about being kind, just be kind. I mean, you know, everybody is dealing with this business in their own way, and you know, everybody's anxiety level is higher than it used to be. Some of it is way higher, and some of it is manageable, and on different days it changes. And so just recognizing that no matter where you are, whether it's via the entertainment business or whether it's in the grocery store or whatever, just recognizing that there's a lot of stress going on in the world right now, and I don't want to be the person to add more stress if I can.
I think I made a joke about this on social media. a month or so ago. Time's really irrelevant to me right now, but it was much earlier on than it is now. And I said, you know, I think I may be bipolar, because one day I'm like, this is the coolest opportunity ever. This is so awesome. I'm getting so much done. And the next day I can't get out of bed. And, and I think that we all just have to recognize that we're not the only ones feeling that way. Everybody is.
So wake up every morning and check, all right, where am I today? Because I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know.
And the same thing is true for all the people that you're going to meet as well. You don't know, you can't really tell. Again, that interaction, a lot of the social cues and things that we sometimes would get are a little harder to do in these kinds of things. And so being aware that everybody else in the rest of the world is also struggling. It's okay to be struggling. You know, even if it looks like I have my act together, I don't. And I'll tell you that now. So, in case you haven't figured it out over the last hour of this conversation. But we're excited to see where it goes. We're interested to kind of take this roller coaster ride along with the rest of the entertainment industry. Those of you who are interested in Casting About and either members or thinking about becoming members, you know, let us know what your thoughts are.
Definitely.
To hear from you.
And if you don't have a membership to Casting About, go get one, because you have time to sit down and figure it out and do your homework. This is, you know, it's a great product. It's a great service. It's, you know, Merrick uses it all the time. He's always with his spreadsheets and so forth anyway. So it's just something great. But even if you're not that kind of a mind, even if you're not the spreadsheet, you know, checklist kind of person, and you're more like me, more the artist free flowing, it's still great and useful, because it'll help you stay organized and be able to, you know, keep things easily done versus having to do all of this homework on your own, which there's just, how many people do you have doing all this research? I mean, you have people on staff full time doing this for actors. So there's no way an actor, even during a pandemic, there's no way an actor would have time to do all this research for themselves.
It's amazing. Way back in the day when we first started, we were doing just TV in Los Angeles. And I was doing the research, and it was very, very hard to keep up. And now, you know, we're covering TV and union TV and film, and union TV, film, and theater in New York. And we have a staff of 4, and they are working all day, every day. Just to keep up with it all. And even now, you know, because we're working, we deal directly with the casting offices. You know, it's primary research. So we're calling and emailing casting directors every day, all day. And what's the latest and what's the news on this production? And let's check in on your social media links. And we're monitoring a lot of those, you know, events that are going on as well. So yeah, it's a ton of work. I mean, they're really good at what they do. I always sort of sing their praises every time I can. It's a pretty great group. We're very, very lucky. We have a good team.
Well, you have a group of 4 on staff doing this full time with relationships that have casting people calling you. It's not just Joe Blow trying to look this up. It's like you have established relationships and people are feeding you information as well. You're not having to just go get it anymore. And so that's what makes it, you know, there's just no way that anybody could get this kind of information anywhere else. You guys, you know, I know we talked about the origin story, how this came about, and they can go back to the old video last year that we did and find out all about that. But I mean, it's so amazing that your friendship has helped actors all over the place.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's very nice. Thank you. We feel lucky. It's been really, really fun. I know you probably have viewers all over the place. Just to be clear for anyone interested, right now we're covering all the projects in union projects in Los Angeles and New York. So, you know, if you're in a different market, we currently don't have that, although we're starting to explore that a little bit, because we know with markets like Atlanta going at what they are. So if anyone's out there watching from, you know, Chicago or Atlanta, Albuquerque or something, and if having a list of all the projects shooting there with all the casting directors, actually full casting staff, it's casting director, associate, and assistant. If something like that would be valuable, we'd love to hear from people, you know, because that's an option, something that we may look into is expanding there. But it's very nice of you to say it's been a fun ride, and I've been it's helped get through this, to see, you know, a lot of actors in the same boat and people saying some nice things and continuing to do their research and using it as a resource. That's helped me get through this a little bit. So that's been nice.
Well, I know when I first started, you know, changing my photography business to doing solely headshots, you know, I mean, you know, I'll still do a baby or a family that was a prior client, but I don't advertise that way anymore. I haven't for years. And when I first started, I went to one of your workshops and to like, what do actors need? And, you know, it was, you know, years and years, 4 years ago or better. And, you know, I thought, wow, this is like, I was impressed with that way back. And now you've added so many things and doing great. Now you keep saying we can contact you. How is the best way to contact you?
So a couple things. One of them is you can just go to CastingAbout.com, and at the bottom of any of those pages, there's a link to email us. And so there's that. And certainly email is handled by our rockstar customer service rep, Eric, who's amazing. And you get very good actor. He's actually a working actor himself, so you get very good answers, reliable answers to your questions there. But we're also on social media. We have a Twitter account, twitter.com/castingabout. And we have Facebook accounts, which you can find by searching Facebook. CastingAboutLA and CastingAbout New York. No, sorry, CastingAboutLA and CastingAboutNY are the Facebook accounts. We have an Instagram account at Instagram.com/castingabout. But there's almost nothing there. We're getting ready to start activating and putting some stuff there, but we're still working out what we're going to do on Instagram and what our strategy is. So right now it's a little bit of a dead zone, but we will be on Instagram eventually. And
You guys are pretty active on Twitter, though.
Twitter
Yes.
is a great place, and actually a really good resource for finding out what's going on, because we use it to push out a lot of news and things that we're hearing. And so.
And that's something we probably don't encourage actors to do enough. I mean, even if you know, don't want to sign up for CastingAbout, that's fine. At least follow the Twitter feed. I mean, it's obviously free. And Eric and the team are pushing out headlines about casting through Twitter. And we kind of use it that way. We don't interact as much as we just push headlines about the casting world. So-and-so's casting this new project, or this associate just got promoted, or this casting team is splitting up and opening their own new offices, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think a valuable resource there. I would definitely encourage people to follow that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, is there anything else you guys want to say before we go back to the, you can unduct tape your kids? And
That's right. Yeah, no, and then figure out lunch and, you know, where they are, and we got a 4-year-old out there.
They're just leaning on the door, and you're going to open the door, they're just going to fall in.
Usually the way
Peggy,
it works is the 5th grader needs help with homework, and the 4-year-old laying on the floor saying, "Nobody will play with me." So I'm going to have to go deal with that, I'm sure.
So what's is it Legos? What's your 4-year-old into? Like what?
We're doing a bunch of stuff. I mean, she's fortunately into looking through books, not reading them yet, but, you know, flipping through books. And Legos is good. And we got puzzles set out, and we got play sets. And then she likes to do her homework next to Alex, who's doing her homework. So, you know, starting to draw some letters. And, you know, I'm always coming up with some activity, trying to think what she would be doing in preschool and trying to emulate it too. It's a constant juggle.
Yeah, well, I hear in preschool there's a lot of hair cutting, like that happens sometimes. So if you just maybe lay some scissors around, maybe the kids will, like, that's an experience they should have, is to cut someone's hair.
I think
true.
so. And it's getting a long back here. They just did a little bit off sides.
Now is an excellent time to teach your kids a usable skill and put them to work.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
How about you, Brian? What exciting things been going on in your household?
Well, you know, my wife and I are both, I mean, I work from home most of the time anyway, and so the office was kind of set up, although, you know, I sort of twisted things around here to avoid the window that made horrible backlighting. And so I'm kind of sitting a little sideways at the desk and so on for camera purposes. But my wife is also working from home right now. We're fortunate we still have jobs. That's good. But we've been out taking walks. We're trying to not just, you know, sit and work. We're also trying to give ourselves a little bit of self-care in the midst of it all. And that for me, I'm enough of a social creature that this whole stay-at-home thing has been really hard for me. And all the stuff that I do in the music world, singing in various groups, some of it has worked its way to online stuff. The Angel City Chorale just released a massive quarantine video with all the little, and I'm one of the little tiny thumbnails in the midst of them all. And my a cappella group, the Overtones, are about to release one that maybe I'll be in. I don't know. I'm not doing the video work on it, but I put in a video, so we'll see how that one goes. So there's a little bit of stuff going on, but it's just adjusting and trying to kind of keep work going, but also take care of yourself at the same time.
I threw myself on the bed the other day and said, I just want to go to a movie. And it's not that I wanted to watch anything, because believe me, I am sick of watching. It was just that I wanted to go out and, we normally, this is the time of the year where we normally would be going to the 4-year consideration events and, all the, we would put clothes on and look pretty and go out. And,
Yeah, nope, not anymore.
And it's like so,
I managed to get on a shirt today that has buttons and a collar. So this is a banner day.
Yeah.
But Peggy, thanks for having us. It's it's always great to talk to you, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. For actors on your side of things. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you having us on.
Even just talking about the industry, I think this is so invaluable. I mean, it's always nice to chat with you anyway. It's a lot of fun, but I know, and with the kids and work, and I've been able to do this as much as I would like, but the actors I know who I'm very envious of, the actors I know who are, getting together to do Zoom readings and read a script, or help each other with a audition. I'll be a virtual reader for you, or let's practice, or let's do a scene over Zoom because we can. I just think that's awesome, and, I with more time, I would be honest, I'd almost like writers have groups, where they check in with each other. I'm doing the same thing with actors now and splitting up this research, there's hundreds of casting directors on Casting About right now. And, I'll take a certain letter of the alphabet and you take others, and let's go find out what people are doing and look at their social media and come up with a list of don't miss these people on their Instagram live, or this person's doing a great Facebook or, live, or whatever it is, and check in with each other. Here's what I learned about this casting office. Here's what I learned. Because that way you're connecting with other artists. You're talking through the stuff we're talking about. You're sharing tips. You're sharing research about people in the business, as opposed to just sitting around and waiting for some mystical gatekeeper to call you to invite you to an audition. So, I'd encourage that, and I hope people are doing that, because I think the more conversation we all have as artists and keep the connection going, the better off we'll all be. Help get us through these days, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, and it is a real thing. There are people that really have really dark days in the midst of all of this. And, we need to all remember to be a safe place for our friends. Like, if our friends are having a bad day, we let them have a bad day, because tomorrow may be your day to have your breakdown. So acknowledge that, and then laugh, and go do something, and encourage each other, and because we're going to get through this, because that's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody will always need storytelling. That's what
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it has been fun. I always love talking and hanging out with you guys, so I really appreciate it. And
thanks so much for having us.
I'm going to put all your links and social media stuff down there. And again, I encourage all of you guys to get involved in this and check this out. Make sure that if you have questions, email them. Follow them on Twitter. I think I'm on your Instagram too, and I don't think you do anything on Instagram, but I'm the opposite. I have a Twitter account, and it's like, my Instagrams are posted on Twitter or something. I don't know how that works, but I know I technically have a presence on Twitter, but not like I should. So we're on opposite ends of social media there, but we're here now, and I appreciate you guys. So I'm sure that really soon I'll have you guys back over, and we'll do this in person.
Love it. Anytime. As soon as you can.
Thanks a lot, guys. All right, everybody, make sure you follow us all on social media. Most importantly, have a great week.